Hi everyone and welcome to Module 2. In Module 2, you're going to be reading chapters 3 through 5. You have quiz number 1, which will be on the quiz. You'll have 2 attempts, 25 multiple choice questions, and 60 minutes on each attempt. When you start the attempt, make sure that you finish the attempt, as you only get one attempt, or each attempt is when you start it, so make sure to focus on that. Here's the weekly objectives that we're looking at for this week. This week I've provided helpful sites for you, and I've provided some PowerPoints as well. I think you'll find these very interesting. When you look for your quiz, you click on the assignment tab right here. Here's quiz number 1. Quiz number 1 will consist of various questions from chapters 3 through 5 only. And then once you take the first attempt, make sure to review your answers so you can take it for the second attempt. It's very helpful to review your answers because it'll make it much easier on each attempt for you. And I do take the highest of the 2 attempts for you as well. So for this week, let's review some of the concepts. In Chapter 3, we're looking at the role of supply and demand. And supply and demand is very interesting because that's how prices are determined in our economy. So if we look at price determination, you'll notice that it's based on demand. And demand is looking at buyers. And if you look at the demand curve right here, you notice that it's downward sloping between price and quantity. So when the price decreases, people want more of a product. That's classified as the law of demand, and everyone can relate that to themselves. As the price of a good increases, we are going to buy less. As the price of a good decreases, we're going to buy more. Now, supply, here are the determinants of demand. These are what's going to cause the demand curve to either increase or decrease. The thing that will not change the demand curve or cause the demand curve to shift is a change in the price of the product. Now, the next thing we want to focus on is the role of supply. Supply is looking at how producers are willing to produce at various prices. And that's the law of supply. The law of supply is an upward sloping curve between price and quantity supplied. You notice as the price increases, we want to supply more. Here are the determinants of supply. These determinants will cause a shift of the supply curve and not a movement along the supply curve. Now, what we want to look at with this graph, let me see if I can bring it up here for us. Would be the market equilibrium. Let's see why that's not showing. Well, sorry about that. We'll just have to go to this view right here. Equilibrium is where supply and demand intersect. This is where buyers and sellers agree upon the price. So equilibrium in this situation is $3, and the equilibrium amount of corn is 7 bushels. Now, you might get questions on the test that relate to shifts of the curve. So if there's a shift of the, if there's different prices. So if they give you a price of $4, you notice that there's 10 units on the shelf, 10,000 bushels, and then there's only 4,000 people that want it because that's where it hits the demand curve. That's a surplus, and if there's a surplus, equilibrium will force prices downward. If I give you a price of $2, you notice a shortage exists. And if there's a shortage, it must mean prices are too cheap, so it'll cause an increase in the price. So these are some of the factors that we're going to be focused on. You'll notice that we're going to be focused also on the role of changes in demand, which is looking at an increase in demand and a decrease in demand. It's looking at an increase in supply and a decrease in supply. Both of these situations will cause shifts of the curve of supply and demand. So these are some various topics that we're going to be looking at this week. Make sure to submit your quiz by the due date as I look forward to your effort.